Okay, thanks everyone for being here. Call the meeting to order. Uh, Any additions to the agenda that I have before you? I know it's kind of a light agenda, and I did add the spring shocking data that Chris is going to present kind of late, but other than that, anything else that you guys have? Okay, can we get approval for the July meeting minutes? Thank you. Second? Okay, thank you very much. Tom, do you have anything? Liaisons, anything?
I do not accept my usual thank you. So thank you for all you do.
All right, thank you. Okay, Trey, you got anything?
Last day for the marina is the 27th of September. That's the last Sunday. Oh, and we'll be same as years before. After Labor Day, we'll be going down to the fall hours. That's 8 to 2 Monday through Thursday, and 8 to 5 Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That was the 22nd,
27th.
27th.
27th, yeah.
Trey, do you have any idea about the beach, how they're closing down the hours? I had a call today about that.
Just weekend. They're just open weekends now till the 14th. I believe.
They're
I
always
believe it's
open
one
to
more.
some degree through Labor Day, right?
We'll get back to you.
Yeah. I heard it a couple times yesterday, but sure. But it's just weekends now.
Okay, Trey, you got anything else, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay, we'll let you back in to answer that question if you come up with an answer. Rick, you got anything?
Yes, a lot of review, just letting everyone know about the Lake Ann drawdown, November 2nd to March 1st, 3 inches a day, 6 feet total. We'll be resurfacing the courtesy dock at the ramp, and there's also one at the dam. Hopefully we'll be able to do that with composite wood. We're trying to do that wherever we can, and we're cutting more aggressive grooves in the boat ramp. And November 2nd to March 1st, that's Monday to Monday. And the Ranger report, we had 7,929 contacts in July, 464 by boat, 123.25 hours on the water. Of those, 2,021 were anglers, 5,895 were other recreation, and we removed 448. Our connectivity issues with our point of sale system, I'm pleased to say, have been resolved. So we can sell daily use passes on the spot now. Grounds maintenance, we've got 30 additional spaces open and rented at Tyree. This brings the year total to 82. All are leased, and that's all we're going to do this year.
And those are the additions you have.
Those are the additions.
You have a total of how many?
It's
Like 150?
yes, at least. Yeah, I need to have that number at hand, and I don't. The Lake Ann kayak launch is now complete. I want to thank the Fly Tires for their financial assistance on that, and also for their help with labor. Looks really good. Need to get somebody in there with a kayak and test it out. The porta potty structures are in place at Grant and Brittany and Norwood. Signs are forthcoming, just letting people know what's behind the wall. Bathroom here or something to that degree. And we're moving forward and getting those signs taken care of. The dams have all been mowed for the third time. We're moving forward with Olson and Associates on our dam permitting process. And also in that same regard, we're sponsoring a dam safety workshop for this part of the state, all of Northwest Arkansas, on October the 6th. And that'll be at the city facility out west of town. It'll be an all-day event. Lunch will be provided. There'll be more coming out about that in our updates. All of our positions are currently filled. We have good reports from our lake and stream E. coli samples for this year. No issues. Chris will be speaking to our spring electrofishing data here in just a minute, and he is still looking for a Lake Avalon volunteer to do our weekly Secchi readings. It's about a 10-minute process once a week if anyone is interested. Our grass carp trap is now working. We've been baiting it for about 2 weeks, and we currently have fish in it. We're going to go out Friday and remove those. It should be a jovial affair. We'll see how that works out.
You or the fish?
Not the fish, for sure. We are getting naiad and some other aquatic vegetation growing at the Stony Kirk and at Stony Kirk on Loman, and also a little bit at Tyree. And shout out to Mike Callgrove again, who was the winner for July. Another $100 going his way for our carp raffle. We would like to give that money to someone else. So if you are, he's doing a good job. But if you're a bow fisherman and want to earn some money, try that out. And with that, that's all I have.
Maybe we should pay him by the pound.
We might go broke.
Hey, I got a quick response from Roland. The beach is open weekends only through the end of this month. So the last day it's open is the 30th. And that information is on the website. He pointed it out. So I got to figure it out on my own.
Was there anything further done on that certificate from Mike Callgrove? You know,
Certificate for
that we talked about last month?
we have not, as far as an appreciation thing.
Yeah.
We'll do something like that at the end of the
Okay.
season.
Okay.
While I'm running my mouth, so this was the mock-up for the sign that Carol had asked us to do. It's basically the same sign that we already have. It's just bigger. It's 3 feet across by 2 feet tall. And she felt like that it would be appropriate to put a larger sign at the entrance going into the Lake Avalon Beach and boat ramp facility. There's probably 2 or 3 other places across the POA where this would be appropriate. I just wanted to bring that to the committee and pass it around if anyone wants to have a look. And I think at Avalon we could install it far enough off the road that we wouldn't have to run into any issues with the city permitting or anything like that.
It would be on the road as you pull into the facility.
The little lane going in.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be on, okay.
Yeah.
Any questions about the signage or to Rick? So I have an observation and a question. So recently fishing on Loch Lomond, still catching small fish, but the fish seem to be heavier and bigger, fatter, and healthier looking. Is there something that we've done that might have put some sort of a food source or something in the water?
Well, if you remember the other year, we did stock the threadfin shad. I'm not overly confident that we have any at this point, but that I'm sure helped. Harvest, hopefully harvest has been up. I can't say for sure. And if we had, sometimes we have strong years, strong spawning years, and some years it's not quite so strong. So, and that's what gives us our up and down in that scenario. So we may just be naturally in a low recruitment, meaning low spawning, and so what we have are in better shape. So, but Chris will speak to that in just a minute.
Any other questions for Rick before we move on?
Hey Matt, I've got one. This is Brett. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Brett. Speak up.
So why has the feeding of the carp pen only been going on these last 2 weeks?
Something about the carp, 2 weeks.
Why is the feeding of the carp only been going on the last few weeks?
Because we first attempted to use hay, and that didn't work.
You attempted to use hay at the beginning
Yes.
when you first installed the pen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I have a second question. If hopefully you can hear me okay. I've sent you like 3 emails asking about the construction boats and the lack of registration that those boats seem to have. And have we ever talked about having those boats be registered and paying the fees that all the rest of us have to pay?
Yeah. So I believe the consensus the last time that this was brought up was we don't want to do anything to discourage contractors from being available on the lakes, but we do want those construction boats to pick up a registration so that we have record of who they are, and if they've got their boat docked up in a hazardous situation, we can at least contact them. They haven't been very good at complying with that. So to your point, we know who most of those guys are, and I'll be making contact and getting them to stop in and getting a registration.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Rick? Okay, Chris, you're up.
Check, check. Good afternoon, everyone. Ooh, got this thing in the way. I'll trip over that. So, as has been mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the spring electrofishing data that we've got, and I'm going to be focused on largemouth bass populations. As always, this data is available online. If you go to our website, bellavistapoa.com, you can go to the Things to Do tab, hit lakes, or there's a little button right here. It's kind of cut off on my computer, but you click that, it'll bring you to another screen. You hit fishing, which will bring you to the third screen. And if you scroll about halfway down, you'll find 3 big green buttons, and one of those is fish population analysis. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So for our spring surveys, we focus on 5 big parameters. The first 3 are size classes. We have the numbers of fish that are eater size, 12 to 15 inches, preferred plus, 15 plus inches, and memorable and trophy size, which is 20 plus inches. Finally, we have growth metrics. Recruitment, which is the number of age 1 fish that we find. Growth, which is the length at age 3. And that just gives us an idea of how quickly the fish are growing. So a little reminder about how our graphs work. I'm sure many of you have probably seen this at least once. At the top, we have our title. At the bottom, we have our x-axis, which is the year. On the side axis, we have whatever value we're currently looking at. It could be a number, a count of fish, or a length. Of course, the data points are in the middle with the line and dot. And we also have 2 horizontal lines. The longer line is the 10-year average, and the shorter line is the 3-year average. Finally, we have background colors and labels to help you get an idea of what kind of rating a point falls in. One thing that I should point out is that 2025 data was not included in the calculation of the 3 and 10-year averages, and is not something that I will be focusing on when I talk about the data going forward. We had an equipment malfunction, and we got artificially low catch rates of bass. So the data will be displayed for transparency, but they are not used in the calculation of averages. And one additional point is for 12 to 15 inch fish, the eater size fish, we have 2 additional categories beyond excellent, which is crowded and overcrowded. For each lake will have 2 slides associated with it. The first slide will be size classes. So in the upper left, you have preferred fish, which is the 15 plus inch fish. In the upper right, you have memorable and trophy fish, and in the bottom left, you have the eater-size fish. As we go through this, you'll notice that most of the fish are in the eater-size class, and there are far fewer fish in the preferred and trophy-size classes. So I'm going to be talking, what I'm going to be pointing out as we go through this is the 3-year average and their trends. So for N, you can see here that we have poor numbers of large and trophy-sized bass, while we tend to have overcrowded numbers of eater-sized bass. So here's the second slide for each lake, and on this we have recruitment, growth, and the overall score of the lake. So here we have excellent recruitment and good growth, and a fair overall score for Ann. For Avalon, we have fair and poor numbers of larger bass and trophy bass, and crowded eater-sized bass. I will point out, though, for Avalon, in 2026, we got the actual yearly dot was in the good range. So we're coming far below the overcrowded, which is actually what we want. That's a positive direction. We want it to be less crowded. For Avalon, we have good recruitment, excellent growth, and an overall score of fair. For Brittany, we have fair numbers of large bass and trophy bass and a good number of eater bass. So this is much more of a healthy balance of what we would want. Brittany has poor recruitment but good growth and a fair overall score. So not many fish are being made, but they're still growing well. For Lohman, we have fair numbers of large and trophy-sized bass and an excellent number of eater-sized bass. So this is actually right where we want it. Lohman has excellent growth and recruitment and a good overall score. For Norwood, we have poor numbers of large and trophy-sized bass and a fair number of eater-sized bass. So Norwood in general just kind of has low numbers of all of the bigger sized bass that are 12 plus inches. But it still has excellent recruitment and good growth. And this leads to a fair overall score. Rayburn has poor numbers of large bass, fair numbers of trophy-sized bass, and the average landed right on the good, excellent border for eater-sized bass. Rayburn has good recruitment, excellent growth, and a good overall score. However, this year you'll note that the point actually fell in the fair zone, so we're hoping as time goes on that average will bump up, because we can't look at every single fish in the lake. So that's why I talk more about the averages, because any given year may be better or worse for a given lake. For Windsor, we have fair numbers of large bass, poor numbers of trophy-sized bass, and overcrowded, but trending in a healthier direction, eater-sized bass. But it has excellent recruitment, good growth, and a good overall score. And finally, we're going to move on to something that's slightly more detailed, but is important for the discussion. I know Tom is not looking forward to this. So what I want to talk about next is the catch rates of bluegill and largemouth bass in comparison to each other in particular. And I've got some takeaway points here for you right at the top. Largemouth bass are generally too numerous in every lake except for Brittany. And maybe you caught on by the size classes, but generally there are more smaller fish, small to medium-sized bass, than there are large fish. Again, I hope that was evident as we went through the size classes. The eater size classes were generally overcrowded, while we had poor numbers of preferred and trophy size fish. In addition, another point is that the catch rates of bluegill generally fell below the 25th percentile for regional catch rates, which means very low. Now what this means is that there are too many bass and too little food. We have overcrowded bass, which means we have more smaller bass because, you know, we can only support so many pounds of fish, and if there are more fish, each fish is smaller in weight. And because they've been overcrowded for so many years, they've really cropped down the bluegill populations more and more and more, so that we're at the point where overfishing of bluegill has become a real concern. And in the past few years, we've actually made recommendations to limit bluegill harvest. So let's just look at the ratios here for a second. So this is much like the other charts that we've seen. We have every lake displayed here, but you'll notice at the top there's a line that says mean. This is the ratio of the average catch rates of bluegill and largemouth bass. And so, in short, regionally, we should have 1.85 bluegill for every largemouth bass. However, all of our lakes have fewer than 0.5 bluegill for every largemouth. Said another way, we have more than 2 largemouth for every bluegill, which is the exact opposite of what we need for a healthy system.
When you say catch rate, is that the numbers you guys are getting from electrofishing?
Correct.
Not from our
Correct.
surveys that we're not.
Yes. So when I say catch rates, all throughout this presentation, I'm talking about the catch rates from spring nighttime electrofishing. Not anything to do with the catch rates by anglers or anything like that. So as we go through the rest of this, each lake will have one slide, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because the story is the same. In the upper left, we'll have the catch rates of largemouth bass, and you can see that historically, the catch rates of largemouth have been above the 75th percentile for regional data, which means too many bass. You can also see in 2025 how we had very low catch rates. That was due to that equipment malfunction that I mentioned, and why most of that data wasn't included in our averages. Additionally, we have a graph for bluegill catch rates, and you can see that for the most part, we have below the 25th percentile catch rates for compared to regional data. So very few bluegill. We should have closer to like 300 bluegill being caught, and right now we're sitting at like 50-ish. And finally, another point is the too many small, not enough big. So if we look at the percentages of the size classes compared to the regional data, we can get these charts down here. So I'm going to kind of point out what we've got going on here in this one. So on the bottom, you have 4 size classes, 8 to 12, 12 to 15, 15 to 20, and 20 to 25 for largemouth. We can broadly separate those into smaller and larger fish. And then you'll see a stricken line across each group, and that is what it should be compared to regional data. So that's kind of like what a healthy system would look like. And you'll notice that for the smaller fish, each of these bars in the group is a time scale. So it goes from 2020 to 2026. The darker is back in time, and the lighter score is currently. But the point is, you have percentages that are over this line for the smaller size classes, which means there's more of them, and you have percentages which fall below these lines, which means there's fewer of them. So too many smalls, not enough bigs. And so I'm just going to quickly go through this so you can focus on this one right here, because you've already looked at this. This is the same for everyone other than the highlighted lake. But down here, you'll see that the percentages are too high here and not high enough there. Here's Avalon. We have Brittany, Lomond, Norwood, Rayburn, and Windsor. So the point is, and something that we've talked about many times in the past, is that we really need to focus on harvesting those smaller fish. Rick kind of alluded to that with Matt's question. Maybe harvest rates were higher this year and maybe recruitment was low. In either case, there were probably fewer bass, which led to healthier residing bass. Now, of course, with all this negative discussion, we, of course, still caught some very large fish. These fish were all caught this year. The top 3 pictures were from Loch Lomond. These fish are all over 20 inches. This guy is really large. He's only 19 inches, but we caught several fish on Rayburn that were 4 to 6 pounds in the span of like 20 feet. So with that, I'll take any questions.
So, well, I mean, yeah, we discuss this all the time, and it's kind of an obvious question, but we know what the issue is, and are there any insights or new insights as to how do we correct this? In the back of my mind, that's constantly what I'm thinking, is like, we know we have that, we encourage harvesting, is there anything else that we could do? We can discourage people keeping panfish or bluegill, and encourage the harvest of largemouth.
I think really the best thing that we can do is to encourage harvest from the anglers. And I think going forward, we're going to be working on a marketing campaign to help spread the word even more, and really try to get the anglers to help with the harvest of largemouth.
Because I think your key point, at least what caught my eye, was the number of bass to bluegill. And I don't remember
Correct.
the ratio, but we're at 0.5 and we should be at 1.85.
Right.
And that's a huge difference. And I really think that if we could hopefully, if we informed anglers of that, maybe that might have a bigger impact.
Yeah. And you know, we try to tell everybody that we meet, and every talk we go to, we try to bring this up. But you know, I think getting marketing involved and really spreading the word as far as possible using the various social medias and techniques that marketing is familiar with will go a long way to help with that. I mean, we're also raising bluegill in our hatchery ponds, so we will have supplemental stocking to go along with that to help balance those numbers quicker. Because, of course, the bluegill will recover on their own. They spawn like once a month during the growing season. But working on harvesting those, getting angler initiative to harvest those bass is really about what we can stand on. I mean, unless Rick has something else to add.
So bluegill, we're below the average. So our average is, you're comparing our regional average to what lakes are considered in our region? Are you comparing us to?
So these regional averages come from Ecoregion 8, which in the science terms is the whole southeast United States. It kind of goes over to like Virginia-ish and of course down to Florida, but it does not include, say, Texas.
Okay.
It comes up Louisiana, Arkansas. We're like in the very northwestern corner of Ecoregion 8.
Okay.
With that said, these goals are probably a little lofty for us because of where we are in the ecoregion. We're kind of at a slow growth area. So realistically, due to the topography of our lakes and the climate of where we live, we won't get as high numbers as this might suggest. We shouldn't anyway for a healthy system.
So are other, and I'm sorry, one more question. Are other lakes in the region experiencing a decline in the number of bluegill due to such factors as live scope and that sort of thing? Are we the only ones, or is it kind of like a problem everywhere?
I do believe it's a problem everywhere. More and more state agencies are coming to realize that bluegill are not, in fact, infinite. You know, an infinite source of food for bass, and there's been a lot of talk to knock down the harvest rates, because you know, Arkansas, for example, is 50 bluegill per day. And there's been some talk to lower those, because I think most states have a really high cap on bluegill like that, and they're trying to see if it's worth it to lower the catch rates or the harvest limits legally of those kinds of fish. There have been quite a number of instances, especially with social media, of people saying, hey, I caught some 12, 16-inch bluegill out of this one particular pond, and then it gets swarmed and the population is decimated. So, that's not particular to live scopes, but it definitely shows to the technology level, like being able to have that information readily available, be it via internet or via a live scope. Yeah.
Is this a symptom, or is this because we don't have vegetation? Is that the root cause?
Vegetation can help, but it's not the end-all solution. What vegetation does is cause some stability, but note here that, of course, I can't go that far back in time because my data is limited on this particular slide, but this has been a problem basically for the last 30 years. When Daryl Bowman came on in 2007, he proselytized the problems of having too many bass and not enough bluegill. And looking historically back at the data, you can see how the bluegill has slowly crashed over time while the largemouth has kind of increased and plateaued. And we're now at the point where they've cropped off so many bluegill that even they're starting to decline. That's kind of just natural with predator-prey relationships if left untamed. And this is actually problematic for pretty much every fishery. If you don't harvest the largemouth, they will take over. That's just ecology. And
Hey, Chris.
oftentimes most lakes find that there is not enough harvest.
Chris, can you hear me?
I can,
Can you
Brett.
hear me? Okay, so two things. We have private lakes. Are we not allowed to stop allowing the harvesting of a particular species? Can we say no perch for 1 year? I mean, do we have the authority to do that?
No, we do not have the authority to do that. So legal harvest regulations are through Arkansas Game and Fish. And while we control access to the lakes, the water itself is considered property of the state. So whatever Game and Fish's regulations dictate is the final law. As I mentioned, we can make recommendations, and what I think the current recommendation for Bella Vista is to only harvest 15 bluegill per day. But if somebody were to say, nah, I'm doing my 50, we don't really have a foot to stand on.
Okay, next question. Do our Bella Vista biologists, your staff, do you guys have the ability to net fish in our lakes? Can you go through there and net largemouth bass?
So that is an excellent question. We could net, but netting is generally an inferior practice to electrofishing, but either method we are allowed to do. But no, we cannot wholesale remove game fish from the system because, again, our permit is through Arkansas Game and Fish, so we are limited to the wording of our harvest permit.
Okay, in my opinion, we are not going to convince these fishermen to keep all of their fish. They don't want to clean them, they don't want to waste them, and the general perception is that small fish become big fish. So we're not going to increase the harvest. What we've got to do is we've got to increase the perch. And unless somebody has a different idea on the encouragement, and we have big giant fish fries for people or what, but I've been preaching for 3-4 years now that we've got to keep all the small fish, and from every guy I talk to, none of them are willing to do it. Just because it's a pain, and they don't want to do it. They don't want to keep fish because then they have to throw them away, which they don't want to do, or they have to clean them, which they don't want to do. So we've got to come up with a better plan for getting the millions of 9 to 11-inch fish out of the lakes.
Since we have the data, couldn't we set up a meeting with Arkansas Game and Fish and start that process? I mean, we have the data to support changing the rules specifically for our lakes, correct?
We have data, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Game and Fish is going to cater to us, because they have 1,000+ lakes in the state of Arkansas that they need to deal with, and I don't know that they're going to want to come and pander just to us and our 7 lakes. John Stein, our regional biologist, is already overworked. He electrofishes his lakes maybe like once every 3 or 4 years. And he doesn't have the time to confirm or deny what we have going on. There's also probably some other legal issues. We could not petition AGFC directly. It would have to be the city. And I don't know if the municipality wants to be involved in all that. Rick, do you have anything to add?
No, we're going to make a concerted effort through our marketing department to get the word out better.
Yeah. Really, as much as we've all talked about it as we can here in our limited capacity, I think having marketing with their bigger reach is going to help. And, maybe it's going to reach people that we don't normally talk to. And maybe it will encourage some people to go out even just once a month with their family and harvest some fish. And I think that's probably what we need to focus on. And maybe we can come up with some other things like, the fish fry thing might be a good idea. I'm not sure, but our hands are kind of tied as the biologists here and what we can accomplish with, we can't overharvest game fish. That's just not something we can do. And again, we are stocking bluegill. We're raising bluegill in the pond, and I think we have plans in the future to try to purchase some bluegill if budget allows going into the future.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay. Let's go to open forum. Sir, I think you had something you wanted to say? Yeah. If you would, state your name and so we have it for the record.
Hello. My name is John Eskew, and I am the aquatics director for Cub Scout Pack 525 in Bentonville. My wife and son and I moved up to Bella Vista from Bentonville in April. And as my pack's new aquatics director, I immediately wanted to let our Cubs experience some of our beautiful lakes. So I've been planning a canoe outing to Lake Norwood since we moved. And we've established a date of August 29th. We have approval to get guest permits for all the Cubs parents that are attending. But we've hit a snag trying to figure out how to handle boat registration. We have 10 canoes owned by our charter organization and several canoes and kayaks that parents are planning on bringing. The charter or canoes are housed in Rogers just off Beaver Lake. But rather than attempt to register all 10 of those canoes or the parents' canoes, I'm here to ask for a one-time event exemption and possibly a formalized process in the future for requesting similar exemptions for educational programs like ours.
So you have residents who have canoes, but you need more. You need more than that. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. So I think there are several residents, but because it's the Bentonville Pack, we do have quite a few non-residents that may be bringing kayaks and canoes as well. If I can't get those approved, that's okay. We'll operate with the 10 we have, but I'm hoping to get all of our Cubs out on boats at the same time so we don't have to plan land activities in addition to the water activities. I want to be able to get them on the water as long as possible.
So I've been communicating for a while on this issue, and I think the overall request is to not make require such a financial burden on an activity that's designed to educate children, and that's the crux of the issue.
So can we legally give them a one-time exemption, or is that opening a can of worms, or, I mean, is that something that we can do? Is that some?
So it's a little bit of a gray area because the good news is that there are residents, so we can get guest passes. But it is, there's going to be a lot of people that do not reside in Bella Vista participating. So what I would recommend is that if the committee is in favor of it, to vote to approve an event that is allowing people from the outside to use the lakes.
So it'd be a one-time event, basically.
Here's the other problem. Well, we changed the policy several months ago, and it's a two-step process. It has to, the committee talks about it, say today, but they can't vote on it until next month. Okay, and the reason why that added month has been put in there is so that if residents do have an objection, that they have the opportunity to come to next month's meeting and voice that objection.
We did the guest registration for the grass carp tournament we had last October. We allowed non-resident boaters to bring their boats on for that.
Yeah, we've done that.
Right.
We can do that, but we do need advance notice, because the fear was that, well, we didn't know you were going to vote on this, concern within the community, we didn't know about it, you sprung it on us, by adding that 1 month, it gives people the opportunity to voice their concern or support one way or the other. So, I'm sorry, when did you say your event was planned?
August 29th, so 17
Okay,
days.
so that's inherently a problem because the next meeting's not until next month.
And that change wasn't made, didn't happen until after the carp tournament last year.
But I guess what he's saying too is, in the future, if you give us some lead time, we could probably accommodate some of this stuff.
Sure.
Assuming the committee and the board are in agreement. I mean, I would like to help you out. I think you're doing something good for the kids, and I think it would be a good event. And we do some special exemptions, so.
Do you have the option to, for a later date?
Like a rain date or
Possibly. Cub Scouts really ramps up in September and October. This will be probably one of the last dates we can have for a warm event on the lake.
So the committee goes through, that we hold a number of different events each year. For example, the Kids Fishing Day that we do, and that is open to anybody. It's mainly property owners attend it, but it is open to anybody. But the committee reviews that in January and votes on it in February, so we're kind of set for the entire year. What Matt indicated is, I think you're going to get a bad answer this year, but if you came to us with enough advance notice for next year, there's a decent chance you would get a positive response.
Okay, and just so that I can possibly keep this event alive, we have the funds to pay for the 10 canoes if needed. They aren't owned by me personally. Am I able to register those 10 canoes with the city of Bella Vista as?
Well, it's not going to be a city, it's going to be the POA.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, with the POA.
As long as you get guest passes for every single person that's attending.
Yep.
And gets a guest pass, or gets a day pass for the kayak, correct? Then you could do it.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you guys.
Okay, appreciate it, thanks.
Suggest maybe you ask other residents to let you use their registered vote for a day. I mean, I have a committee more than happy I'd be more than happy for your group to use. You have to logistically organize to get it there that's already registered. So just another option, potentially.
Is that clear? Votes that are already registered could be used if, so long as you get guest passes for everybody that's going to be there.
Yes, yeah, I believe so. Thank you guys.
Anybody else?
Tom Marino. On the marina, it's closing, and that's what date? September 22nd?
27th.
27th. And what is that?
Last Sunday of September is the final day.
So, I mean, obviously, people can still use their boats that lodge there.
Correct. That's just boat rentals and bait sales.
And does that include fuel?
Yeah, and gas.
Okay, thank you. Rick, on the kayak launch, and thanks again for everything you did to make that happen. You know, we have a sign that we want to place there. Has David talked to you about the logistics of putting that sign in place?
No.
Okay, I'm assuming we can't just go put a sign there. There has to be something involved to make that happen.
let's run that through some sort of approval.
So have David call you?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Because I'm going to get asked, approximately how many grass carp are in that pen, if you were to guess?
I was told the other day that they saw 12,
12. Okay, great.
and and there seems to be more all the time. So
Okay, and they're not escaping, I guess, if they're
well,
queuing up.
I mean I'm not sure if they're staying in there or if they're coming in for the feed.
Any
We'll find out on Friday.
possibility you could get Chris to stand at the opening and
We're going to do that. We're going to block it off.
okay, good.
Yeah.
And Chris, question for you. Have you been approached to give your presentation to the Fly Tires, the one we just received? And if not, can you and would you?
I have not been approached, but I would be happy to give this same presentation
Okay.
to the Fly Tires.
I'll probably have our vice president contact you then. I think our membership would be very interested in your work.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, anybody else? Am I missing anybody? Any comments, questions, concerned about anything we talked about today? Discussions?
I've got one more question
Go ahead.
not as a scout, for Chris. So what is to stop the committee from voting to bring research to the city that have been presented to the Game and Fish?
Could you repeat that?
So what is stopping this committee from voting to bring your research to the city so that it can be presented to the Game and Fish?
Nothing really. They could. I don't know that they would make it very far. I mean, like I said, I think the city would likely not want to get involved, honestly.
Okay. Is that a hand raise over there, or is that, okay. All right. Okay, going again. Anybody else before we adjourn? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.